right now. Today is the day that you choose to change the rest of your life. It is time to turn your setback into the greatest comeback story ever told, and nobody is more capable than you. Friday! This is the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast, the future #1 weight loss podcast in the world. I am your host, Donato Russo. I hope you enjoy the show today. If this is your first time here and you enjoy the show, please subscribe and spread the word of the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast wherever you are and to whomever will listen. If you'd like to connect on social media or wherever else, check out my Linktree page, Linktree/the Ranting Weight Watcher. Let's connect today. This is episode 100. Welcome, everyone. This is some special event I have planned for you today. Listen, there's way too much to cover. I have 7 individuals who are all about to tell you their amazing stories. It has been an honor to share airspace with these individuals. The total combined weight loss of everybody on this episode is 1,135 pounds. And all of their stories are truly amazing. And let me not waste any more of your time. Let's get started with episode 100. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Club 100. So if you guys can just introduce yourselves, just give me your name and where you're from. We'll start with you, Allison. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Allison. I'm from Queens, New York.
Okay. Go in alphabetical order. Ben?
Yes, I'm Ben Iden. I live in northern Kentucky, which is basically 15 minutes from downtown Cincinnati.
All right. Welcome. And Corey?
I'm Corey Fuchs, and I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Heidi?
I'm Heidi, and I'm from just south of Boston, Massachusetts.
Maggie?
I'm Maggie, and I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, but currently living in Tallahassee, Florida.
And Sherry?
Sherry, and I'm from Orange County, California.
All right, guys. Welcome to the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast. It is an honor.
I think you skipped Lisa. She was.
Did I? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Alphabetical order. Come on.
My bad.
I thought I was like, oh, okay.
My bad.
And me. I can't help myself.
All right. So we will go to Lisa now. Go ahead, Lisa.
Lisa Dove from the Northern Burbs of Chicago.
Okay. All right. Let me say that again now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Club 100 and the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast. Okay. So I just wanted to join everyone, as many people as I could, really. This is the biggest podcast I'm really ever having. I've never managed this many personalities. So, so we'll see. Hopefully we all get along. We have a good time. Really, this is a celebration of everyone everyone that I know who has hit over 100. I'm sure there are many more. Maybe one day it'll be bigger and bigger, and it'll get to the point where I can't handle it anymore, and that'll be a wonderful thing. So what I want to do is let's just, each one of you, one at a time, just tell us your story and maybe like your why and, you know, what motivated you to begin your journey. Allison?
Oh, we're going alphabetical order again? I don't know. It could have been anybody at this point, being how he does alphabetical order. So I wasn't really sure if A was A or, you know. You're never going to live that one down.
No, I'm not going to live that one down. That's okay, though.
Hours.
That's okay. As long as it gets everyone to relax and have a good time, that I'm perfectly okay with that.
I started in January of 2017, so it's almost 5.5 years at this point. Depending on the week lately, I'm down about 150 pounds. I've been down a little bit more. Past 6 months or so, I gave back about 15 pounds that I'm playing with to try and get back again. I started with my mother and my sister, and my sister and I are still, she's my person for Weight Watchers. We go together, we go to the in-person meetings, we are each other's support. You know, we text back and forth, we call back and forth. I see her almost every single day if I could. Yeah, and I find like that my why has changed many times over the past 5.5 years. When I started, I don't think I really had a why. I came because I was joining with my mother and my sister, and in my head, I guess I really didn't think I needed to go. I was going with them. Yeah, so it changed a lot. And right now, at this point, I've said this before, and I'm sorry that I've said it so many times because I've gotten healthy, and I say like at the meeting and with my friends, like if I never lose another pound again, I'm fine because I'm so healthy. And I think God is just like testing me to see, all right, you won't lose another pound. You're not gonna lose another pound. I've changed, like health wise is so different that I've gone from, I was a diabetic when let's put it that way. I was a diabetic when I found out. I was 42 years old. I was a 9.5 A1C, which is high. I mean, that's a full-fledged diabetic. I watched a little bit. I didn't join Weight Watchers until like 4 years after that. So it took me a while even to get to that point. When I joined Weight Watchers, I was at a 7.5. I was on high blood pressure medicine. I was on metformin. You know, it was hard to walk. It was hard to keep up with everybody. And now at this stage of the game, I have a 5.0 A1C. I don't take anything except for vitamins. And that to me, every time I kind of like stray away a little bit, you can always buy a bigger size clothes. You can always, those things are there, but I never want to give this back. I never want to not be healthy again. I'm 51 and I feel better at this point in my life than I felt in any of my other adult years, I think. Like maybe, yeah, I would say this has to be like the healthiest that I've ever been in my life. So that's my constant why, is to be healthy. Things change in between, like my kids, when they were younger, I wanted to be for them. And I still want to be here for them, but like it just, things change, to keep up with them when they were younger and chase them. Now they're driving, they're here, they're everywhere. To be healthy and to know what it feels like to be unhealthy, I think that's my biggest why.
Nice. Thank you. Okay, Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, I started in July of 2018. I've lost over 110 pounds, and I've been really fortunate to be able to maintain that within a 5-pound range for about 3 years. So I've been at goal and lifetime for about 3 years. Really, I lost a couple times before when I'm 58. I'd lost a couple times before when I was much younger, but I didn't keep it off. A lot of it was just mindset. I had bad eating habits, and when I was younger, I could outrun the fork. You really can't outrun the fork long term. Also, my why was vanity, which isn't enough to keep weight off, I don't think. Not for me anyway. When I got up over 300 pounds, I thought, I started to have heart palpitations and different issues. And it's like, this could possibly kill me. It's something that I can do something about. And that started me to go to Weight Watchers. And it helped me this time around to really accept this is something I need to do for life and I can do for life. It's not just a diet to get the goal to go out and party. It's a lifestyle.
Okay, Corey.
When I was really young, I was about 7 or 8. I had a brother who had an accident and he died. I learned from a pretty young age that food equals comfort. So I've had I've been overweight since my dad, I think it was like in 3rd grade. My dad saw me being teased at school for being the big girl. So then that was where my first diet. And I started Weight Watchers when I was 12. So I've had this like whole on again, off again relationship with my weight. And with Weight Watchers, I've quit and started probably 100 times, and paid for it and didn't do anything with it for a long time. And when I was in my mid 30s, when I was 32, my story has a lot of death in it, but when I was 32, my dad died at the age of 49. And it was all like health related stuff. He was a type 2 diabetic. He had congestive heart failure. And it was just super painful to go through as his child. And I didn't want my kids to feel that loss of losing a parent. And when I was maybe 35, 36, I was on high blood pressure medication. I was pre-diabetic. I was on cholesterol medication. I had a bulging disc in my back that gave me drop foot, so I couldn't walk or move. I mean, I was in pretty bad shape for being really young. So I went back to Weight Watchers out of desperation, pretty embarrassed, because I had been there so many freaking times. But I just decided that it was worth it for my kids to A, show them how to take care of themselves, and B, just give a fighting chance to freaking be here for them. Not that my dad died on purpose, but it was very painful. So I went back for the last time, just determined not to quit. I'm like, nothing's going to happen. You're going to suck at this. No, but just don't quit. So over time, Weight Watchers started to talk about mindset a lot. It wasn't just about food, because I can tell you what to eat. I know what to eat, but for me, it's a lot in my mind. It's unwinding all these like emotional attachments to food. It's pretty deep for me. So I've stuck with it. I've lost 139 pounds. I'm getting close to 140-pound milestone. And kind of like what Allison was saying too, my why's changed. My why was all about, my kids and being there and showing them. I mean, I still care about them, obviously, but they're grown up now. So I'm at their house right now. But they've got their own thing, and they've been living their healthy lifestyle as a reflection of what we've done as a family and what I've shown them. So that's not cured, but my why now is all about me. I'm an empty nester. I want to travel and adventure and go see the world and climb glaciers and mountains and surf, so I just really want to be in a healthy body that can go do stuff for fun and come back not broken.
That's awesome.
That's me.
Now, just so you know, I was able to rearrange you guys on my screen so you're in alphabetical order now. I won't make that mistake again. So, okay, Heidi, go ahead.
Yeah. So, like many of us, this is not my first rodeo. I started, the first time I ever went on any program was Weight Watchers. That was about 20 years ago, in my early 20s. It was about vanity. I was young. I wanted to look a certain way. I wanted to be accepted. I was always bullied in school, made fun of, and I just wanted a place to belong. And I thought, well, if I could just lose weight, then maybe I'd be accepted. Maybe I'd be happy. Maybe I'd love myself. But I was very rigid. I had that all or nothing thinking. And I lost 110 pounds in 10 and a half. And I was very strict because it was sheer willpower. And my why really wasn't strong enough. At the first hint of difficulty or trauma or a trigger in my life, I started binging, and I put on over 100 pounds in less than a year, and then needed to have my gallbladder removed. And then I yo-yoed for years. And then the last attempt, I had lost over 220 pounds. I had been at my highest weight. I was just shy of 400 pounds. I was 387. It was also at the time that I realized I probably had an eating disorder. I had really severe binge eating disorder. I was a fast food binging junkie who would leave work. I'd want to numb out before I got home in order to deal with the stress of my day and my negative thoughts. And so I'd pull into a fast food restaurant, probably get enough to feed like 10 people, and then was so ashamed of what I did, I would hide the bags in the trunk of my car so no one would know. I remember one particular weekend, me and my husband went grocery shopping. I had empty bags in the trunk I didn't want him to see. When he went to put groceries in the trunk, I'm like, no. Put them in the back seat of the car. And he was kind of wondering what was in the trunk. And he ended up getting out all of the bags, putting them on the kitchen table, and made me confront it. And I remember being so mad at him for doing it. And he said, Heidi, you did this all these years as a coping mechanism. You did it for the right reasons, but it wasn't the best strategy. And so from this day forward, if you're going to choose to eat this food, don't do it in hiding. Do it in front of me, because there's no shame in what you're doing. I want you to feel comfortable to do this in front of me, and you don't need to do it anymore. We can find a better way. So I want you to take these bags and I want you to throw them out in front of me instead of hiding it. And I remember not speaking to him for days. I was so angry, but it was the best thing he could have ever done. But even in that, that wasn't enough to make me love myself and do what needed to be done to heal. And so I yo-yoed again. I lost 220 pounds and then I put it all back on. And my husband's military. So about 5 years ago, he left the military. We moved back here to Massachusetts, which is the home of my biggest triggers, which is my family. I grew up in a really toxic home life. I was confronted with the very thing that made me escape with food. And when I decided to start again here, this time around, it was October of 2020. I recommitted to WW in a place of desperation in my life. You know, I had lost 220 pounds, and when you put it back on, I literally was defeated, completely defeated. I was in the lowest place of my life. I might get emotional here. My husband, he always leaves for work in the morning. After he left, I remember getting ready for work, and I was in the shower and I kind of had a breakdown. And I remember calling out to God and saying, listen, God, I know you say that you won't tempt us beyond what we can bear. Well, I can't bear anymore. And I don't want to die. But if living means this, I'm going to check out. So God, either you need to intervene in my life and tell me what the purpose of my being here is, or I'm checking out. I will say that it was him that saved my life because I can't do it alone. And God used every one of you in these workshops to help save my life. Even in that moment of desperation, I didn't take the steps right away. It wasn't until my husband one day, and when I came home from work after that, this was a couple months later, where he packed his bags and was going to move out and leave because he had to tuck away pieces of himself in order to support me. I was almost immobile, so he had to do everything at home. He would go to work and not be able to concentrate because he'd worried that he'd come home and find me dead from a heart attack. And so that's my why. Sometimes, you know, we take for granted the people we have in our life. We think they'll always be there. But my why was that my husband was so valuable to me that the cost of losing him wasn't worth putting that food in my mouth. That was my violent shove into reality of what I needed to do. Because in order for me to put the energy and work it takes to let go a lifetime of hatred towards myself, all the baggage that I held that was wrapped up in that weight, in order for me to become the person I needed to become to get to this place, the price that I would have to pay would have to be worth it. And the relationships in my life that I wasn't able to be fully present for was worth the price that I would pay. Because I wasn't able to be present with them. I was locked in the prison of my mind. I was locked in the prison of my body. And I couldn't enjoy these valuable relationships in my life. So not only was that my most difficult moment, it was also my why. It was my why that I hold in front of me every single day, that I want as much time on this earth with these people that I love and care for.
Thank you. Okay, Lisa.
Okay. What a wonderful story that was. So I started, my why was just very simple, probably because I did Weight Watchers over and over in different phases of my life where I wasn't even heavy at the time because I've always struggled with self-image. So as a young child, back when Weight Watchers was track your fat and fiber, I believe, when I was young, I started with that. Things happen. I'm an emotional eater. I'm also a binge eater. And when I have the right emotions in place, I can put a football team to shame. For me, it started as I was in high school. It was body image. Me and my girlfriends would all go out to eat and pig out in a buffet, and we'd all go throw up together in the bathrooms. I worked at fast food places when I was in college and when I was in high school. We would eat food, spit it out in the garbage so it didn't go into our bodies. I would starve myself all day so I could drink all night on a regular basis in college, almost every day for 4 years. So I had a lot of horrible things that I was doing to stay. As I did liposuction in my 20s, just so I looked perfect in my wedding back in the day. So many years go by. According to the charts that they say, I was still not overweight at that point until baby number 3. Baby number 3, just everything in my life just went downhill. My career was extremely difficult. I would sit in front of a computer 12, 13, 14-hour days, come home, spend time with my kids, and be logged in at night. So I was on my butt, no movement for long periods of time. I became diabetic after my first kid, who's now 18. My A1C was way up there too, 8, 9, I don't remember, but it was very high. A lot of things, I needed spinal surgery because I fell on the ice and herniated every disc in my back. Then I had a pinched nerve. I couldn't feel my arm anymore. I was immobile for quite some time because I was being bounced around to different doctors and they weren't able to figure out what was wrong with me until I realized I need to go see a spinal surgeon. But at the time, I had no idea. That was more weight gain. Baby number 3, 60-pound weight gain that I never took off. So you have a job that you're sitting there all day long, 12 hours a day, spinal surgery where I was immobile for many, many months. And before I had the surgery, I lost the use of my arm because the pinched nerve that was misdiagnosed. My current 18-year-old was inpatient hospitalized for 2 months due to suicide. So as a mom who could do nothing, who was pretty much blamed for it, for being a bad, so to speak, in a teenage eyes, right? That happened. Another year, my littlest, who's 9 now, had a medical situation where she was in the hospital for a week, where we couldn't get a handle on what was wrong with her. And that was more physical, not mental. So I trigger emotional eating, all these horrible things in life, and I'm not able to cope with that. The final straw was the pandemic. I'm at home. I'm a very social person. Even with all my weight problems and self-image problems, I've always put on that poker face. You would never know. I just put on that smile, was very social with everyone, but I was hiding like behind all of that. At this point, I'm now fully diabetic. My last 2 children that I had, major pregnancy issues. Because of that, I lost a baby, a twin, because of a lot of those problems with my weight and stuff like that. Pandemic hits. I'm at home with a puppy. 3 kids are schooling at home. It's insane in my house. I just need to get out of the house. I can't take it anymore. So I start walking. Has nothing to do with weight loss. I just walking for stress and anxiety. And the walking, I did that all 2020. And then 2021 in January, something hit. I joined Weight Watchers again, but I never lost the kind of weight all those other times that everybody else has. It was like 20 pounds here, 10 pounds here. I quit. It was just all the time. Tried Nutrisystem, put on, lost 30 pounds, gained 20 pounds. I did all sorts. I did everything. I did keto, you name it. Atkins back in the day. I joined Weight Watchers and I discovered this wonderful community called Connect. Out of all the times I did Weight Watchers, I even paid for it on my phone for years and didn't do anything with it. And when I came across Connect, I started seeing real live people like yourselves, where I'm like, oh my God, these stories, these are real people. These aren't supermodels. These aren't, these are like true stories, and they're losing 100 pounds or more. And at this point, I'm at 297. I was like, I am not hitting 300 was my thing. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is just another diet. We'll give it a try. I made great friends on Connect. And I was inspired by so many different people's stories that I'm like, I could do maybe. So I walked and I walked and I walked from January to June. This last time, me joining those 10 years where I gained all that weight with all those horrible things that happened to me, I was a very athletic person, even though I had self-image problems. So that just like snapped right back in gear. I joined a gym when they removed the mask requirements, 2021, January. 100%. I was able to, I got a trainer. I trained hard. Yeah, I did lose fast. I spent 2 to 3 hours a day in the gym. 159 pounds later, I've just recently had the skin removal surgery and I plan to do more in September. So my biggest fear is gaining it back because I know that I am not in the right place mentally. I know that I have the power still to binge and I do it. I recover quickly, but I know that at some point in my life, if I don't work on my mental state, that I can put it all back on. I've seen it happen. You guys have told your stories about it. And so I am trying to nip the mental part in the butt now because I am not healthy in my head when it comes to my food relationship. So I have actually recently been investigating finding a good therapist, not a dietitian, but somebody that can help me work with my self-image issues. I can feel on top of cloud nine sometimes and have the confidence, all the confidence in the world. The right trigger is enough to spiral me down. And I'm nervous if something very big in my life happens again, that I wouldn't be able to recover from it. So here I am now. I know what I need to do. And now that I have the weight off and I just started maintenance like a week or two ago, just because I'm starting to lose weight in some places I don't want to lose weight, like my face starting to look older, places like that. So I know I'm at a healthy weight now. My diabetes is gone, just like some of you guys. 4 medicines, no more. My A1C is a 5 as well. I want to keep this and I want to be able to be there for my children when they get married, when they graduate college, because I still have 2 little ones at home as well. Here I am now with all of you, and I'm hoping to learn of what I can do to love myself since I have not had self-love yet.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. And Maggie, go ahead.
I had been overweight my entire life from puberty up until the point that I joined WW. And it's funny that Ben mentioned the idea of running from your fork because I actually started a fitness journey before I started a weight loss journey, and I fell in love with running June of 2017 when I began. And I actually trained for a marathon and gained weight during marathon training because I did not have a healthy, balanced relationship with food. I have a bit of a different story in terms of my motivation to join WW and to get my relationship with food into a healthier place. I actually had the mindset of that I was destined to be overweight, that I was destined to be fat and fabulous, that it was my purpose on life to show others that you could be overweight and be amazing and love yourself and do things that other people thought you couldn't do. And it's one of the big reasons why I signed up to be a marathoner, just to prove other people wrong and kind of break the stigma that a lot of us have talked about going through, right? The being bullied and the being cast aside simply because of your weight or your size of clothing. And I really did just accept the fact that that was a part of my life, and I wore bikinis and I loved fashion, and I just tried to make the best of the body that I felt that I was given. And I was in a family who everyone was overweight, and I had parents telling me, you might want to consider losing weight because we love you and we know how hard it is, and we don't want you to have to go through some of the things that we've gone through. I'm, a performer, a trained opera singer. I was in an industry where we were constantly being compared to one another. The way that we look, the way that we walk on stage, what we wear, constantly had people advising, you might want to think about this for your career. And none of it really clicked with me. I knew, yeah, sure, life might be easier if I lose weight, but I mean, what's really the point? I'm still fabulous. I still have my awesome personality. I was kind of being stubborn about it. It's really interesting. I'll never forget this. It was February 2nd, 2020, and it was Super Bowl Sunday. And I had a couple of friends over and we were watching. I wasn't really into football. I was into the halftime show, right? And that year it was Shakira and J-Lo, who, beautiful, amazing goddess women who were twice my age. And they were dropping it low and they were getting it. And they looked amazing and they had all of this wonderful energy. And I got off the couch and my knees were popping like firecrackers. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to feel like this when I'm, 50 years old. I'm never going to feel as amazing as Shakira and J-Lo. And that was really a sad moment for me, that I had this heart of someone like Shakira or J-Lo, but I didn't feel that way physically because of my weight. And so I started talking to a friend and I thought, you know what, I really do need to get my food under control because I love activity, but something needs to change. And so on February 10th, the following week, I joined WW. And that changed the entire trajectory of my life and my family's life. Lots of y'all have already mentioned diabetes ran in my family, congestive heart failure ran in my family. Heidi's message really hit home with me because I saw my mother going through the same things. I saw my father going through the same things as Heidi's husband. I saw my future written on the wall, and it got real for me in that moment, seeing that happen. And so I joined WW and I said, enough is enough. I'm going to change my relationship with food and I'm going to be stubborn about it. Because like Heidi had mentioned, I love fast food. I love going through the drive-through. And I was like, I don't want to give that up. I tried things like Lisa had mentioned. I had yo-yoed 40 pounds down, 40 pounds right back up because I wasn't doing things that were sustainable. So I used that stubborn mentality that I mentioned, and I applied it to changing my relationship with food. And I actually paved the way for my family, and my mom ended up joining in June of 2020 after we'd almost lost her to congestive heart failure, and she can be a part of the Club 100 too, and I'm really proud of her. My dad has lost over 80 pounds. My younger brother has lost over 90 pounds and ended up joining the Air Force because of his lifestyle change. And so in my journey, I've lost over 100 pounds. My lowest was 103 point something. Like Ben had mentioned, I've maintained within 5-pound range for the past year and a few months. I'm still actively pursuing weight loss, but I've always loved living life. I've always loved showing up and just being the best person that I can be. And I'm at goal energy, even though I'm not at goal. My weight loss has definitely slowed down because of that. I'm sure a lot of y'all can relate to that stringent, right? And being really strict versus living life on program. And so I just have so much joy in doing it every day. And that's my story in a nutshell.
Thank you, Maggie.
Mhm.
I know you have a podcast. If you want to plug it, feel free.
Yeah, if y'all are interested in checking it out, I have a podcast with a fellow WW coach. Her name is Rachel. She's also lost over 100 pounds on WW, and we drop new episodes every week. It's called Dropping into Happiness, and we just talk about whatever's on our heart and mind, things that we've encountered on the journey. We even launched an episode this week about clothes during weight loss and how to shop and find things that fit in affordably when you're changing sizes so quickly. So just fun things like that. So dropping into happiness.
All right. And Sherry.
Like many others, I've yo-yoed all my life too. Since my late teens, I've actually just pretty much just crept up. And to my highest weight, I think I was at 425, and that was like in 2003. I have two kids that are 9 years apart, and after each delivery, I was about 100 pounds heavier than the one before. And in 2003, I went to the doctors. I had bronchitis really bad, and she didn't know me from a hole in the ground. And she immediately told me, you need bariatric surgery. And the doctor was telling me that. So I went with it. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't research it. I didn't learn any lessons. I didn't change anything. I went and I had the surgery thinking the surgery was going to fix me. The surgery didn't fix me. Donato, that's why I always say that your story is a lot like mine. And honestly, this is the first time outside of my family, my very closest friends, nobody has ever heard that I've had surgery before. I keep that near and dear to myself because I sort of regret having it. So a year goes by, I lost 145 pounds, and then I stopped losing because I didn't learn the lessons. I didn't change anything, and the weight just eventually crept back up. Fast forward to 2013, my mom was diagnosed with lung cancer from smoking, and it pissed me off. She was already stage 4. There was no hope, but they still wanted to do clinical trials on her, and she was a nurse, so she went for it. So from diagnosis to her passing was 6 months. And I walked that with her. And that was the eye-opening and final why for me to lose weight. I was so mad that she did that to herself and that she was leaving us for something that she could control if she would have just stopped smoking years before. And I was damned that I was going to do that to my kids and let them lose their mom because she was fat. She passed away in January in 2014. I didn't know how to diet, but I was trying. I thought I was eating healthy stuff. I kept trying and trying. I did start walking back then. And by that time, I think I was already back up close to 400 pounds again. And I couldn't walk 2 or 3 houses beyond mine. And I just kept going out every day. When she was going through the treatment and walking around, trucking in an oxygen tank with her, she would force herself to walk every day. She refused to sit on oxygen and die in her living room, and she would force herself to walk a mile a day in that condition in between chemo and radiation and trucking along the oxygen as well. So that was my motivation to get my big butt up and go walk every day. And I just kept going and going and going. Eventually I got up to miles. I still hadn't lost any weight because I didn't know how to diet. I didn't know where to go to learn how to diet or to lose weight, or maybe I did and I just chose not to. But I did keep up the walking. I did keep up trying to eat healthy for a few years. And then 2018 came. I became pre-diabetic. My blood pressure was at stroke level, and I got blood clots in my leg. Like every 3 months, something else happened. And at the end of 2018, I had went through the pre-diabetic nutrition classes, and eating healthy in that manner finally clicked. When I talked to the doctor, he said as soon as I was cleared from the blood clots in my legs that he would approve me to keep walking and that I could start dieting. So January 2019, I was cleared, and that was my last and final start point to lose weight, and I haven't looked back since. I've lost 139 pounds since then. I lost about 75 of it on my own from January to July of 2019, and then I started with WW. And really, I started that to eat fruit in the summer. I was watching carbs on the diet that I was doing. There was a graduation party at the end of June, and my brother-in-law and his wife were there, and they had been on WW and both lost about 40 or 50 pounds, and they were eating all kinds of fruit. And I wanted that watermelon and strawberries and stuff, but I couldn't the way that I would on the diet that I was doing. So I figured I'm going to try WW just for the summer, switch up the diet just to get in the summer fruits, and then I'll switch back to what I was doing come fall. I've been hooked ever since. I think I've lost about 75 pounds since I started WW, and I got about 40 or 50 more to go. But my why's never changed. I'm not going to let my weight kill me and take me from my kids like my mom's smoking did.
Thank you, Sherry. All right, so we're going to talk about an epiphany that you guys had, something that changed everything, something that sticks with you even today that changed yourself in your journey. Allison.
I have 2 things that stick with me that I'm thinking of right now. Like everybody else, I am also not a repeat offender. This is my this is it. This is my final go at Weight Watchers, and I know that because this time around was the first time that as I lost the weight and the clothes got bigger and they couldn't be worn anymore, I got rid of everything. Before this, I would shop in my closet. So I always had room. You know, I could gain, I could lose, and everything in between. I had every size there. This time, there was no room to go forward. So for the 15 pounds that I gave back, my clothes then now I haven't bought anything new. Everything that I had was getting big on me. So the things, that's how I can gauge myself now, what fits. And I know like when it started getting a little bit tighter, the jeans that were tight, Thank you, God. They're fitting again, but the right way. Everything is I'm going in the right direction now. I refuse to buy size up. I've worked too hard to get here, and I won't go up a size. The other thing that sticks with me was like, I guess figuring it out is that it is, I mean, I know it is lifetime. It's not a diet. It's the way that we live our life now. In the past, if I messed up or whatever in my mind, I felt like I messed up. Well, that was it. It's over. I messed up and there's no going back. Now I just treat it one meal at a time. So if I eat really crappy in the morning, well, then I know what I have to do for the next two meals of the day and any snacks and everything else in between. If I end the day lousy, well, then you know what? You wake up, if you're lucky enough and God gives you the next day, then you know what? That day, I'm going to just start all over again from the beginning. And that's really is, those are first for me in this last 5.5 years, because before that, a mistake, that was it. Done. I gain weight. I can't go back. I'm embarrassed. I'm whatever. It didn't take me such a short time to lose that weight, but it's very easy to easily put it back on. There's no going back. Like, you just have to take it one meal at a time for me. And I got rid of all of the big clothes. I found that was very helpful to me, knowing that there's nothing in the closet that will fit me if I gain 50 pounds back, and I don't want to buy new stuff again. So the minute it gets a little bit snug, well, now we have to do something about it.
All right. Thank you. Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, there's several of them that really stick out. One, it's kind of learning that a lot of it is about the mindset and the headspace. That was a big aha moment. Understanding that I could not out exercise bad eating habits. I could never outrun the fork. That was another huge moment for me. I've really, I do have to watch what I eat and eat healthy. And I think one of the biggest thing is that, and I think you talked about it a good bit, Donato, it being consistent in your journey. And being consistent doesn't mean you don't fall down. It means you get right back up. And part of consistency for me was just realizing it's about making progress. It's not about perfection. I see people, and I see myself sometimes getting so stressed out. Did I track this right? Did I track that right? I only exercise 20 minutes. I should exercise 30. Don't get caught up in all that stuff. And I saw that I couldn't get caught up in all that stuff. I spend 5 to 10 minutes a day max tracking. Anything else would not be sustainable for me. So same with exercise. If I miss a day, I don't work out extra hard or eat less necessarily to make up for that. I just get right back to it the next day. And that's really what's helped me and make this journey rather quite enjoyable. And I can see myself doing it for the rest of my life, and instead of just losing it and gaining it all back like I have in the past. So anyway, those are kind of my aha things.
Thank you. And Corey, go ahead.
My epiphany is similar to Ben's, but in a different way. Once I got my head wrapped around the scale and what it is, it was a really big freaking game changer for me. Once I recognized that if I stop staring at the damn scale and waiting for the number to go down and just start approaching this with all the stuff that I like and being consistent, the scale actually moves. And once I got my head around that you're going to gain weight sometimes, you're not going to lose the weight that you want. I mean, I would weigh in on Thursdays in the studio, and Thursdays I was the hardest person to deal with because I was so stressed out until 6 p.m. I wouldn't eat all day, was so worried about what that scale was going to say. And as soon as I let that crap go and just started focusing on activity I like and eating food the way that I like it and just kind of having some fun with it, I stopped quitting and the scale actually started moving. So when I just got into a relationship with the scale, like it's one tool, and it seems so cliche because I think the scale, like I think a lot more people have a healthier relationship with the scale now than at that point in time. But anyhow, once I got to the point where the scale stopped ruling my decisions and my feelings, I actually started to see much more progress, and I like it. I like what I'm doing.
Awesome. Okay, Heidi.
Yeah. So one thing I didn't mention before was all the times in the past that, I made an attempt to lose weight, I never addressed the mindset component. And so this time around, I addressed that. And I did it first before recommitting to WW by finding a group therapy for women with eating disorder. So I started my mindset process there and recommitted to WW at the perfect timing. WW, I swear they sense the collective pulse of its members and they rise to meet their needs. And I decided to come back at a time where they pulled the mindset component in. And it was the perfect timing for me. And so the biggest epiphany for me was I always thought that I would just have to manage the mindset component, that I would always have a desire to shove my face full of food and I would just learn to manage it. But my biggest epiphany was when I got to a place where being face to face with my biggest trigger, my first inclination was not to reach for food. And it was at that point that I realized I'm finally at peace with my relationship with food. And I thought that that would never come. And to me, that's greater than any number on the scale, at least for me, that I have no shame surrounding it. I no longer fear food. And the biggest thing for me was my greatest suffering brought to me my greatest blessing. That the substance I was using to punish myself with and numb myself with, food, was the very substance I now use to heal myself with. I use foods that make me feel good, that energize me, and all the habits and the routines that I've built up that I used to think I was going to dread, all like prepping and measuring and chopping, are actually a meditative practice for me. It's an act of self-care, and I love what it does for me and what it brings to me in my life. And so it's a joyful experience now being in the kitchen. And I never thought that day would come. So that's the biggest epiphany for me, that this has brought me peace.
That's so amazing. Lisa.
So my aha moment has to do with the fitness center, pretty much. When my first 50 pounds that I lost was just plain old walking outside, getting out of the house during the pandemic with all my children at home, trying to school and yelling and screaming and not wanting to be on Zoom all day. So that's how it started, just walking. When the mask requirement was lifted, I joined Lifetime Fitness Center. And I got a trainer because in my whole life, I'm older now, I'm 47, and I never, ever worked on tone or anything like that. And it was so many years, 10 years without exercise, I needed to learn how to do these things. So I found a woman who was just amazing, pushed me way beyond what I would do. Before I joined the fitness center, I work with a lot of younger men in my company, in a computer company. They were the ones who pushed me into the fitness center. And I was just like, I'm fat, I'm old, people are going to laugh at me, they're going to make fun of me. They pushed me and it became a competition. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would stick with it. My trainer made me enter a competition, a fitness competition. I'm thinking, yeah, right. I'm like 250 pounds. Are you kidding? At that point, I lost my first 50 and I was at 297 when I first started my journey. I actually won the competition, still at my heaviest weight, but because they had the trainers at the gym vote on who gave it their all. I was the one in this big Chicago fitness center who punched in the most, was there the most. And it wasn't because I was torturing myself. I found things that I absolutely loved. I'm a huge dancer, always have been. So I learned stuff that was not torture to me. It was work dancing, hip hop, Zumba, kickboxing, stuff that I did when I was younger that I just snapped right back. So the idea that other people noticed was just amazing to me because I was so scared to even walk in that fitness center. I was embarrassed. I would make sure I was always getting dressed hidden behind things so nobody could see what I looked like when I was getting dressed. And I would make sure to go to the elliptical on the far end so nobody would be looking at my fat butt in front of them if they were behind me, like so self-conscious, always in the back of the dance classes. Now I'm one of the ones in the front of the dance classes and I walk in there with a ton of confidence. My trainer made me do things like plank who would ever think that a 47-year-old woman in my mind could do something like that? When she first told me to do it, I was like, are you kidding me? You're 25 years old. Of course you're doing a plank. Now I time myself and I went from like 15 seconds to a minute and a half. And I kept growing things that I never thought I'd be able to do. So now for me, I can feel the hormones releasing from my anxiety when I can get into the high impact zone. So it's not even that I do it because of a torture thing. It is, hey, now I can actually do this. I can actually feel stronger. When I'm running with my dog, the joy of her tongue hanging out of her mouth and running with me is just amazing to me. So to me, I think it's all hormonal. And then all the smaller NSBs that went around with it. I can cross my legs. I don't need a seatbelt extender. I could go to the gym and put a towel around me and not have to bring a big beach towel that I had to start with because I couldn't fit in the towels that they had in the general fitness center. So all those little small things started adding up. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I just crossed my legs. Who does that? I can't cross my legs. So just as those little things added up, it just made it all the more worth it. And the feeling that came from all those small little things became one huge, wonderful feeling for me. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Maggie.
So, two little mantras I wanted to share that made a big difference for me. They were epiphany moments that I actually heard both in workshops. The first week I was on WW, I heard a lifetime member who was at goal and who'd had success maintaining say, live life now how you would at maintenance. If you're someone in weight loss mode, live it like how you would at maintenance. And, we started talking about what that meant. And a lot of the reasons why I had such failure before in trying to lose weight and why I had yo-yoed is because I was cutting out all of the things that I love. And so they said, if you like fast food or if you really like cheeseburgers or whatever the case may be, figure out a way to work that into your pattern of eating, because I knew for me, like deep down in my heart, it wasn't going to be worth being skinny to never eat some of my favorite foods ever again. So that's why I kept, giving up. So when I heard that, I really took it to heart. And like the first week I was on program, it was my anniversary and we went to Cheesecake Factory and I planned all week to have half a slice of the fudge cheesecake. And I came back to weigh in on the next Monday and I lost weight. And so I was like, sold, right? From then on, I was so in love with what WW was doing. And then later on in my journey, I heard in a workshop, focus on the plan, you'll lose the weight. Focus on the weight, you'll lose the plan. And it reminds me of what Corey was saying with that battle in the scale. I had so much pressure on myself to lose X amount of weight by X day or get to goal by this 2-year anniversary mark. And I had, these deadlines, these timelines, and we can't control the scale. We can control our effort, but we can't control if it goes down 2 pounds this week or goes up a pound or stays the same. Like it's just not in our realm of control. And so I really shift my focus when I heard that to focus on the day by day, the play at hand. Don't think about the championship game. Think about today's play and taking it one day at a time. So I constantly speak that over myself. Focus on the plan, you'll lose the weight. Focus on the weight, you'll lose the plan. We'll get there. We just got to keep, Ben was saying, being consistent and focusing on our efforts. So those were two big aha moments that I still speak over myself every single day.
Thank you so much, Maggie. Sherry.
I think my biggest aha moment was, I want to say it was about August 2019. I had lost a substantial amount of weight by then on my own. I think it was about 70 or 80 pounds. And it just hit me that I could do it. I had faith that I could do it, that I knew how to eat right. I knew how to move, and I was heading in the right direction. And it was just all about being consistent and patient and just working on yourself. My husband has a lot of uncontrolled health issues that aren't weight related, but I'm essentially his caregiver. So there's a lot of times when I have to pause my plan to take care of him for a couple days or a couple weeks, however long his bout happens. But just to be able to pause the weight loss and maintain and pick back up and move forward with confidence and consistency, that's my biggest aha.
Thank you, guys. If we can talk about your most difficult moment, a moment where you were on the edge of giving up.
I think I've never wanted to give up. I really could say that this time around, I have not ever thought about giving up. However, I'm not going to tell you that it has not been hard. This right now, at this stage of my game right now, has been my hardest time. I think that going through as a woman, being 51 years old, your body is not the same that it was when you were 30 years old. So it's all these different things for me that I'm dealing with. Like, it's taking a little bit longer. And I'm sure that happens for men as well as, all of us as we get older. Everything is different. It was easy to put those 15 pounds back over these last 6 months. I mean, I think it really started for me around the holidays, like Thanksgiving. And usually I never let myself get down that slide. This was the first time in all this time, in these 5 years, that I've allowed myself to keep going down that slopey part and, getting to 15 rather than say just 5 by the new year. But I think this has been the hardest time, and not quitting, but maybe it could be the same as quitting, because I know I still have more to go. And maybe I said to myself a little bit, you know what, maybe this is just as good as it gets. I have to just say, this is what I have. And this is, I'm just going to go from this point forward. But then, no, this is not as good as it's going to get. I am not giving up. I don't know how long it's going to take me. Like, as Maggie was saying about taking off those time things. I mean, it's 5.5 years later. Somebody else might say, you've been here for 5.5 years. You're still not at goal. What are you doing? But there's never a finish point with this. Like, this is for the rest of my life. So and what else am I going to do? I still have to do things anyway. The time is going to pass no matter what. So whether it's going to pass and I'm going to keep working and I'm going to keep going to the gym and watching, paying attention to what I'm eating, or it could be that I'm not, I'm just going to do whatever I want. And so I've never felt like giving up, but yes, I've gotten to that point where I've said to myself, this is it. But you know what? No, it's not. I want 175. I was 11 pounds away from minus 175, and I got 25 pounds to go. I'm going to get there. I don't know when, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to let everybody know when, when I am. You're going to hear me screaming from here. You're going to hear me yelling about it. Yeah. So I think this is my hardest time. So if I can get to what I want, that next goal, getting past this, I think that's pretty good then for me.
Thank you, Allison. Okay, Ben.
I think one of the most difficult times was when I was just starting out. Of course, I hadn't done anything for a while, and I had a fantastic first week and lost close to 8 pounds. And I'm all pumped up, and hey, this is going to be off in a few weeks, I'll be done. And then the next week came, and it was still a loss, but not very big at all. And it's like, well, wow, this is going to take a while. I'm really in it for the long haul. And I just kind of got down about the whole thing, stuck with it. And I think there were a couple other times on the way down. I don't think what people realize is kind of like your 401k, nothing goes up or down in a straight line. And your weight loss, you're going to bounce around a little bit around on the way down. And there's a few times in the journey, I think that I thought this is going to be hard to do. Negative doubt came in and everything. And I thought about giving up, but I'm sure glad I stuck with it. It's just, it's been great.
Thanks, Ben. Okay, Corey.
I had done all the quitting like the 2 decades before I started the last time. So I've never, this like last time that I've been committed, my mantra was, I'm not going to quit myself. So I've never gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm going to throw the towel in, but I've definitely had some very frustrating, challenging parts of my journey. And I would say the funny thing is when probably one of the biggest challenges is when I became a WW coach, because I thought that I was maybe like 14 pounds from my initial goal. When I first was asked to become a coach, I was like, well, I'm a little bossy, but I'll try, and so I wasn't like something I pursued. But my focus started to shift from, oh my gosh, they're all watching me, and if I'm going to be a coach, I better be perfect. And then my focus started getting back on the scale and how much whatever nonsense weight I was losing or not losing that week. And so I probably gained and lost the same like 30 or 40 pounds for the first couple years, just because it really messed with my mental state. And then once I got back to where I needed to be, and like, okay, let the scale be the scale. It's important, but what do you like to do? What do you enjoy doing? What's fun for you? How is this going to fit into the lifestyle that you want to live? The scale started moving again. And, I'm just kind of come to peace with it. But I just thought for sure becoming a WW coach would get me to be perfect. And that is not how that works. Maggie, do you agree?
Yeah, preach that. You definitely you get you feel a certain expectation. Eyes are on you. And I've even had like lovely members tell me like, don't forget there's 2,000 of us watching you, waiting for you to get to goal. And it's like, I would never say that to you, but I understand what you mean. So you do feel like you have to walk the walk, live the talk.
Yeah.
Is that the right phrase or something like that?
You lose your humanity, right? You're like, I'm still a human. I'm a hungry girl too. And I'm still learning, I've learned and I have a lot to teach, and I've become a coach for a reason, but I'm also a human being. But I would have members come in to the studio and be like, you look like you gained 2 pounds. You look like you lost 2 pounds. Week to week, I can tell you her name, but I won't. But you just are on the spotlight, and that gets back into all that emotional, like self-worth stuff that I really struggle with. And then once I let all that go and stop letting the scale be my guide and let myself and my heart and my passions be my guide, it's the scale started moving again. So that was for me.
Thank you, Corey. Okay, Heidi.
Yeah, so I would say that my most difficult moment, kind of like Ben, was in the outset. That moment that I was in the shower and I just had that breakdown, that place of desperation, and the same thing with my husband. But, sometimes you have this seed that's planted in your head, like from years before, and you lay it on the shelf. And sometimes that comes back up in the perfect time. So I remember in that moment, right when I was in my lowest place, I remember this interview I had seen one time. It was with a man, his name is John Assaraf. He was in the documentary, The Secret. And he did this interview and he said that when he wanted to achieve goals and dreams in his life, he was set up with this mentor who said to him, John, are you interested or are you committed? And he said, what's the difference? Aren't they the same? And his mentor said, well, if you're interested, you'll do what's convenient. But if you're committed, you would do whatever it takes. If you're interested, when things get difficult, all of the stories you've told your whole life will come up, all of the excuses, all of the reasons why you can't will come up. But if you're committed, even if you fall, you'll do whatever it takes. And so what takes you from interested to committed is that why. And in my most difficult moment, that came up. And I'm like, and it's a scary place because when you go from interested to committed, that also means that you have to let go of that story. And I've held on to that story for 42 years of my life. That's really hard to lay down. And so that tough moment was laying down that story and saying, okay, pick up your big girl panties and get to work. Now's the time. Now is the time. Your life is worth it. Get to work.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, Lisa.
For me, it's just clear as day. It was my very first binge, which it came from a seasonal sadness. So I started January 2021. I'm not saying there were plenty of, I was one who always ate my weeklies because then it didn't feel like a diet, right? At that point, it's a lifestyle. I was able to go way over my points with one meal a week, it seemed to be. And that's what I did. I didn't even count my weeklies. I was like, you know what? I want that T-bone steak and I'm going to eat all of it. And I still managed to lose weight because the other meals that I had, I was on point for the rest of the rest of the week. Well, seasonal sadness hit in around the holidays. It's cold in Chicago. Can't be outside anymore without being miserable. And my one meal a week led to a day, which led to a full weekend, and then into 3 days of binging. And it scared the crap out of me because I went almost an entire year without that kind of behavior. And that is when I realized that it's mindset that I really need to work on, or I'm going to go backwards and I'm going to put this all on. At that point, I'm now down 159 pounds. Around that time, I want to say I was around, 100, 120. Knowing that I still have that in me, that hunger demon that can just eat till oblivion, to eat everything in sight, I can still do it. And that urge is there. And sometimes I fail. Recognizing that is still in me after for almost a year not doing that was a wake-up call for me. So probably one of the scariest moments, and I'm still fighting it right now. So that's it.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, Maggie, go ahead.
Like others had mentioned, it's hard to pinpoint a specific moment where it's like, I feel like I'm on the precipice of just giving up. I think there's little moments we all have. Like one time, the first time I ever wanted to track Blazed Pizza, I remember my boyfriend came into the living room and was like, I think I want Blazed Pizza today. And I was like, wait, I have to see how this is going to fit into my week and be really strategic. And I looked up the points and it was like kind of confusing in the app at first. And I was like, and I started crying and I'm like, why can't I just say, I feel like having Blazed Pizza today, right? And it felt like I started calling those moments my bratty teenager moments, because those were the moments where I thought, why do I have to do this? I'm doing air quotes because we're not on camera, but why does no one else have to do this, right? And here are all these lovely people who are going through the same things that I'm going through, right? Why am I the only one that has to do this? And this stinks, and I'm never going to get this right, right? And so I've had like little moments of drama like that along my entire journey. But I think the biggest moment that I had to work through since I joined in February 2020 was the following June. So I'd only been on the program for a few months, and I was being really consistent and diligent. And within the same week, my mom was hospitalized and almost passed away over 600 miles away from me. And my dog got really sick, and I lost my job in the middle of a pandemic. And I was like, holy heck, like this is a lot. And I remember I just wanted Dairy Queen Blizzard. And I looked up the points and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, really? 19 points for that shot of ice cream? Like, oh my gosh. And so that was a moment where I was like, okay, Maggie, you have to figure this out, because life is never going to be always rainbows and butterflies. Sure, a lot of life is like that and it's wonderful, but there's going to be weeks like this where you have to figure out how to work through it. And so I told myself, higher points are better when they're happy points. And I told myself, if you still want the Blizzard on Monday, you can have it. But let's just take a moment. And Monday rolled around and I wasn't thinking about a Blizzard anymore. And so getting through that, I proved to myself, like, I can get through these hard moments and still show up for my health and wellness and stick to my intentions. It is possible. So that really kind of helped me navigate a lot of future challenges that I faced as well.
Thank you, Maggie. Okay, Sherry.
So I can't say that I've had a moment where I wanted to give up either. There's definitely been frustrating times. And the biggest thing I think for me is when I started running. I taught myself how to run at, I think I was, still around 300 pounds. And I started running in 2020 and I was just racking up miles. I was running like 30 to 40 miles a week. And that's a lot for somebody my size and my age. And I was not losing weight. And it was making me so angry. I didn't want to quit, but it was just really frustrating. I didn't know how to eat and run and lose weight. And to this day, I still don't, but I'm not giving up running. And I just keep doing what I'm doing. And it's just a slower weight loss. So what's the alternative? If I quit, then I'm going to gain more weight back. That's not going to happen.
This has been an awesome experience with you guys. I'll never forget this episode. This is going to be one of the special ones that stay here. Thank you. Thank you so much for making this number 100 something I'll never forget. If you want, you can tell everyone listening how to find you on Connect. If you want them to be able to connect to you, you can go one at a time and just give your screen names if you'd like.
My Connect name is Cruella, Cruella 13.
My Connect name is Remke Ben, RemkeBen.
My Connect name, which is also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. It's the same handle. It's Corrie_fit to travel. And Corrie is spelled CORRIE_fit to travel.
My Connect name is Heidi, the Mindset Ninja, HEIDI. And you can also find me on Instagram by the same handle.
Y'all can find me on Connect WWCoach_Maggie_S and on Instagram, Maggie Tracks Magic, also at my podcast, Dropping into Happiness. And Donato, we might have to bring you on for our 100th episode whenever we get to that point.
That would be awesome.
And mine is Hastings21, HASTINGS 21.
Mine is changes or me. The word changes, the number 4, and then me.
All right, guys. It's been awesome. You guys are the best for doing this. I know you guys are taking time out of God knows what you could have been doing tonight, and you just came to be on some Joe Blow you didn't know on his podcast. Thank you so much for taking your time and being with me. So right now, we are broadcasting in 41 countries. There is somebody out there who is about to quit. Take a minute or two and talk to the one person that's about to quit.
What if this is the time that you don't give up?
Don't quit. Ever. Ever.
If you're about ready to quit, reach out and get the right help.
Struggling is part of the growth process, and it's normal.
Learn to forgive yourself.
What if this is the time that you just keep going, that you keep showing up? What could that look like?
Believe in yourself and just keep doing what you think is right.
Every morning when you pick your head up off the pillow, you have everything you need. You always had it.
It's hard to be fat and it's hard to lose weight, and you need to choose your heart.
It's really worth it.
We've all been to the point where we want to throw in the towel or feel very frustrated or want to quit at some point. But that is part of the growth process. You're not alone. That means if you're struggling, that means it's important to you and you're in the thick of it, and you will get stronger. We all get stronger.
Nobody's perfect. It's not perfection. It's living choice by choice, small mini choices, and every little mini choice. And every time we screw up our points or miss a workout or have a bad day, just get right back to it the next day. Pivot and move on.
Go for a walk. Do something. Every day, do something a little bit better towards your goal.
I've always attended workshop on a regular basis ever since I started. Very few weeks have I missed. And that's a big help to you too. But if you can't attend workshop, reach out to a coach or a WW leader.
You do it for yourself, and the life that you will gain is so much bigger than the weight you can ever lose.
We do get stronger as we go, but what you're feeling now means you're growing. And if you stick past the threshold of the hardest part, you will come back even stronger than you were before. So good for you. Struggling is part of how we grow. So it's a good thing in a sense.
If you think you can, you will. You may not know exactly what it's going to look like. It might not look exactly like what you envisioned, but if you think you can, you will, and you already think you can, or you would have never signed up in the first place.
It all adds up. Just don't give up. Believe in yourself and keep going. You have nothing to lose but time and weight.
But once you get in that habit of doing it and learning to forgive yourself, there's a world of things that you can do to make it all better, and all those little choices.
Realize that when I didn't give up, on the other side, I became what I always needed. I was that. I was what I always needed. And when I didn't give up, I found that out. So your journey actually brings you back home. And eventually you'll discover you. And it's a beautiful thing.
So here we are. We're at the end of our little journey here. And I just have one question on my mind. What are you thinking about right now? Are you thinking about how motivated, how inspired you are? If so, what are you going to do about it? What's your plan? Because you know what? If you don't take action right now, it's gone. This is how temporary motivation and inspiration are. If you don't act on it in the moment, it's gone. So, if you feel motivated, if you feel inspired right now, get a pen, get a paper. I want to know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, where you're going to do it, and how long are you going to do it. And not just how long each time. I want to know how many weeks are you going to do it too. Extremely detailed. And I want you to sign and date that piece of paper. Make a contract with yourself. And then do what you said you were going to do. Because it's that important. It's that important. And you know what? As a matter of fact, when you're done making that paper, that contract, take a picture of it and email it to the show. Make yourself accountable for what you said you were going to do. The Ranting Weight Watcher at gmail.com. Do it. You will not be sorry for taking positive action for your own health. You can't get that wrong. Now, if you're out there and you're thinking, well, this doesn't apply to me. Well, I can't do this because. I can't do that because. I can't. He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. So tell me, how long have you been saying, I can't? And how long are you going to continue saying it before you want some real change in your life? Because it's not going to happen. No one's going to do it for you. And as long as you're telling the world you can't, listen, these excuses you come up with, they only sound good to you. To everyone else, they just sound like excuses. Listen, we live in a world where a deaf guy and a girl with no feet were on Dancing with the Stars. I'll say that again. We live in a world where a guy who cannot hear music and a girl that has no feet were on Dancing with the Stars. And they succeeded. So how long are you going to live in the same delusional excuses you've been living in your entire life? Because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to call you out and call all of that nonsense that you've been thinking your entire life bullshit. Get up, get moving, make your declaration today. Send it to me by email and start doing what you said you were going to do. and watch how your life changes. It's all about positive things here. Make positive changes in your life, and positive things will happen. I love each and every one of you. God bless you all.